Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Crystal Lahan. Thank you for watching. I wanted to talk today about fear because what I keep getting from a lot of people in my life is that there's so much happening that is fearful in the world. How in the world do you have faith when fear seems to be what is generated in the media? It manifests as anxiety and anxious thinking. It brings up a lot of traumatic thoughts and memories that if we are not aware that these things are playing out for us in unsupportive ways, we find ourselves circling in a loop. And perhaps you know what I mean, where especially when it comes to tending to the garden of your mind, weeds keep springing up and you may cut one, but 5 more grow in its place. Because when you have one weed, the thing about weeds is that they spread very quickly, right? So I want to use this analogy of weeds and fears to show you that it's not about eliminating the fear. A lot of times we think that in order to fear less, we have to be fearless. And that is so not the truth, because we are human beings. We have been programmed to fear. And some might even say it's a survival instinct. We do need to have fear in order to signal to ourselves, hey, this is dangerous. This is not safe. If you continue, you may get hurt. You may even die. Fear does serve a purpose. So to move through the world with a belief that fear is something to eliminate or to avoid would actually be doing yourself a disservice, because then you're not actually building up your toolkit. You're not building your skill set to tend to these weeds. Because a true gardener knows that, yes, pulling out a weed definitely helps, but you have to get to the source of the problem, right? If you pull up one weed and you look across and you see that there's a field of weeds, well, you know that the problem is going to come back, right? Simply just pulling out one weed is not going to be enough. And sometimes pulling out all of the weeds are not enough. So what do? You learn to unlearn. And what I mean by that is that you need to start leaning into fear as a teaching tool that is going to teach you about yourself. It's going to teach you about your environment. And it's going to be giving you the opportunity to choose differently, to choose another path, to choose another course, because fear is meant to block you. Fear is meant to stop you. Fear is meant to keep you contained, right? This is not a judgment. This isn't about good or bad. Sometimes we need that containment. Sometimes we need it. But when we find ourselves in a loop where we're getting stuck doing the same things that are really fearful reactions, or we're having fearful thoughts that generate anxiety or that have us stuck in negative feelings, let's just say, right? Whether it's feelings of blame, guilt, shame, sadness, whatever it is, despair, those feelings, we don't like to feel them, right? So what the human being does is, if they're not aware of fear as a teaching tool, they're going to try to evict those feelings, to project them outside of themselves, do some kind of action to take them or move them away from what they believe is the source of their fear. So I don't know if you've heard this before, but there is a acronym that I've always loved when I heard it about fear, and FEAR. Fear is false evidence appearing real. It's important that you get that, because most of the time, the fear that we're experiencing is only in our minds. There is not actually some life-threatening situation that is occurring in the very moment. We may feel the anxiety, we may feel panic, we may feel the drive to flee or to fight or even to fawn, right? Or freeze. But fear is a psychological concept that we believe to have physical repercussions. Maybe I need to say that in a different way. Fear is something that is visceral. We feel fear, but we also think fearful thoughts. We have anxiety when our thinking is projected into the future, when we're caught up in thinking about the future, or when we're caught into thinking about the past. That is what fear is about, right? Fear is about taking you outside of the present moment. And we lose sight of that once we're in it. So the first thing, the number one thing, the most important thing is to bring yourself back into the present moment of the here and now. Now, there's lots of ways you can do that. There's meditation, for one. There's being still and just allowing your breath to expand and contract your body. That's a mindfulness technique. There's also other mindfulness techniques, but this is where meditation and mindfulness really come hand in hand. Some people use prayer to bring themselves back into the present moment. Some people use tapping to bring their attention back into their body, which is our vehicle in the present moment. So what I would say to you, if you've ever or continue to struggle with fear, so what I would say to someone who's asking me, how do you, Crystal, handle fear? How do you handle anxious thinking? I have a big toolkit. I really have a big toolkit. Some days it's meditation, and that meditation might look different, and it may look different depending on the day. Sometimes I meditate with music. Sometimes I meditate with a walk. I do active physical meditation. Sometimes I meditate with affirmations or mantras. It may look very different depending on who you are and what you need. But the thing is, it's not about the tools that you have in the toolkit. It's about the fact that you are working to build the toolkit. Because once you try something and it works for you, then you're going to be more willing to try it again. And now when you have something that works for you, well, now you're actually combating your fears, right? Now you're actually looking at, okay, I have a weed in my garden. Now you're looking around and seeing, is there any other weeds? Is it the soil? If I pluck out this weed, is there anything else I need to do? You might actually need to do some other gardening things. I'm not a gardener, so maybe this isn't the best example. But weeds are not your friends, right? They're not your friends, and neither are fears. So I hope this has been helpful. Find the present moment, be still, be open to listening to your inner teacher, because that voice, that guiding voice, is always there for you if you're willing to listen.